Welcome to Amot Che, where we speak with LGBTQ Armenians in Los Angeles and hear their journeys of identity, resilience, culture, and community. I'm Lara Vanian Green. In partnership with the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, this series explores mental health, belonging, and the traditions that shape us. Honest conversations, practical support, and real people finding their way. You are not alone. Let's start the conversation. Hello and welcome to this episode of Amot Che. Today we will be speaking with linguist and poet and so much more, Hrayr Varaz. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Lara. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Popular demand. So many people said that you were the queer Armenian that we should all get to know. So today we'll get to know you a little bit.
Sounds good.
So to start off with, tell me a little bit about how you identify culturally, personally. Give us a little bit of your background.
Okay. I identify as Armenian American, and specifically Western Armenian. I was born and raised in the US. My parents are from Lebanon, and I grew up, I say, in the Armenian bubble of LA. And so interacted and had my whole childhood ecosystem within a specific Armenian bubble. And I continued my language journey through college. And now, I've been writing for the past decade and then sharing poetry. So I write in Western Armenian and then I translate to English and I try to make it as accessible as possible. And I'm queer. So that's an important, so queer Armenian is my two intersections that really give me energy. So I try to give that
come
back.
to the right place. What generation are you? Are you first generation here?
Yes. Yeah. I was born here and I currently live in San Francisco, Yelamu, according to the native people of the Ramatish Ohlone that live here, and grew up in LA. I was born in New York and my parents, came over during the first 5-6 years of the Civil War in Lebanon. So they finished high school and started college in Lebanon and then continued here, and family and everyone moved around the same time. So I currently bounce around, LA, New York, and San Francisco.
Very cool. I want to ask you more about how you grew up and the messages that you received, but I'm going to put a pin in that for a second because I found it very interesting that you said that you write poetry in Western Armenian.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mother was also a poet and a writer, right? And she wrote in Eastern Armenian, even though that was not what we spoke at home, because she felt it was a more poetic language, that it just lent itself. And there were, I don't know, she just said the poetry flowed better in Eastern. So in my mind, that's the language of poetry. That's the dialect of poetry. Tell me about, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
Tell me about writing in Western Armenian and what that's like.
Yeah, I write in Western Armenian because I speak Western Armenian, and that was my first language at home. And I'm not. My goal isn't to reach a specific audience or a specific mass, or else I would be writing in English or Eastern Armenian. Eastern Armenian, more people speak it, more people hear it. That's what's usually spoken in Armenia. And it's true, there's a lot of poetry in Eastern Armenian. Some of the verb endings are different, so there might be more rhyme there. But Western Armenian has plenty of suffixes, so it's fun. And my background's in linguistics, and so I come from playing around with the language and hearing the language in a way that, and being, and tuning into how people speak and recording how people speak. So that definitely helped me to write,
So you write in Western Armenian and then you translate to English?
Yes. So 10 years ago, I made a decision that I'm going to carry around a notebook with me and I'm going to write. And then once I started writing, I'm like, well, no, I want to write in Armenian because I can. And there's a connection, a childhood connection, family connection, cultural connection to it. And so I started writing in Armenian, but then slowly, really quickly realized that I stopped myself, I correct myself. I'm looking up words in Armenian, what's the right spelling, all the things. And then I'm like, that's not going to work. That doesn't flow. And so I'm like, whatever comes out, comes out. English comes out, this spelling comes out, French comes out, an emoji comes out, whatever. I'm just going to write that. Yeah. And I mentioned emoji because I use emojis in my poetry because it's usually digital. But yeah, the notebook is what started it. And I still carry around a notebook, and I like to go to different bars and clubs and write whenever I'm feeling introverted. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
It's a
nice.
way to like keep connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doodling with a purpose. I don't know. Yeah.
In our home, there were a lot of discussions about how poetry was the one form of art that you could not fully properly translate, right? Like a
Mm-hmm,
painting
mm-hmm.
everyone can
Yes.
enjoy, music everyone can listen to, but
Right.
words have such a culturally
Yes.
entrenched meaning sometimes that something can sound beautiful in Armenian and you translate it to English and it falls flat because the words
Yeah.
don't mean the same.
Exactly. And Armenian is a very good example of that too. So I do write in Armenian, Western Armenian, and then I translate to English, but the translations are more for it being accessible to people versus it being poetry in English. Like my goal isn't necessarily to be poetic or have poetry in English. It's more of the Armenian. And so it's to make a bridge. But yeah, Armenian has a lot of words that have many parts, and those parts are hard to translate. One of my favorite ones that I recently found out from classical Armenian was the word for friend and the word for family. Both start with un. So it's unger and undanik. And unger is someone you eat with, and undanik is someone you're under a roof with. And so you're under a roof with your family, you're eating with your friends, unger. And so that it's like so beautiful. I don't know, like
No, that's
friend.
really cool. I like
So yeah. And then the compound words in general, like the word for port recently, someone made me realize that it's the place where ships rest. It's Nav Ahankist. And it's like so beautiful instead of saying just port. So yeah.
This isn't this not the order that I had planned on discussing anything, but I'm going to go with the flow of this. So since we're onto language now, we can go back
Yeah.
to your history a little bit later. But since we're onto language, what words exist for the queer experience,
Yeah.
queer identities? What Armenian words, since they are so malleable and you can create new Armenian words with
Yes.
relative ease, although you might end up with a very long one.
Right.
What words are available to describe our experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the default usually in Eastern Armenian in Armenia is to go with the Russian equivalents. So you have like gay, trans, bisexual, lesbian, like just like words that are very similar to English because Russian took it from English and then Eastern Armenian took it from Russian. And so, but we do have words that you can create that are like bodily, you can listen to your body and like combine words that come from your body. A word that I've been using is daror for queer, which comes from a 2010 convergence of queer femmes in Armenia who came up with darori nagvad for queered. So I took the first two syllables of that and made it short, daror. I do that with most long words like music is yeraj. I just say yeraj. It's like short and sweet. And so daror is what I've been using for queer. And it feels good to me. And then I've like created a related word, baror. Bar is dance. And so baror is like a queer who dances. And then that's sort of related to barig. Barig is a fairy. And so there are certain like queer people or gays who identify as fairies, like in the woods or whatever. And so those are barigs. And barig is a regular Armenian word that everyone uses. So it's always cool to be able to like get already existing words and make them more broad. Or Armenian's good like that because like you can use the same word for multiple things. Like the word for week and Saturday are the same word for some reason. It's like that's confusing, but we do it. So
You know
it's
what I love
Shabbat.
about
Yeah.
yeah. I love that daror is yes, it's a root word for darorinat. You're
Yeah.
strange, you're queer.
Yeah.
But I also love that it's brand new in the context. So that
Mm-mm.
it doesn't have a history in the context that you're using it. And then
Right.
we get to define it,
Yeah.
which is you don't get to do all the time.
Right. And there are many words that do exist that are very pejorative, derogatory, hurtful, vulgar, that really get to the core of most people, most gay Armenian experiences. And so I do sometimes use those words as like reclaiming them, but I'm very careful because I don't want to encourage non-queers or people in the community to also use those words, because most of the time it's not nice.
It's not okay. They're used to hurt and insult
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of uplift and celebrate.
Yeah. And that's why like a lot of queer Armenians avoid a lot of Armenian spaces.
That's one
So
reason.
yeah, and church and community centers and organizations that have existed for decades and do amazing things, but it's sort of from both sides. Like queer people don't feel comfortable, and then the organizations don't make themselves that open and welcoming. So there's work to be done from both sides of like melding together somehow.
Okay, we will definitely talk more about
Okay.
that. I wanted to ask you how, as a linguist, what role does language play in shaping how we see and understand ourselves?
It's an important question because, unfortunately, the Armenian language carries a lot of shame with it, as the podcast name, Amot Che. Every single Armenian speaker that I've encountered, no matter how professional, how good, how intermediate or beginner, they're always comparing themselves to someone who speaks a better Armenian, or this like idealistic, like, oh, I have a great uncle who was blah blah blah, and I'm like, sure, but your Armenian's perfect. Like you're completely like you're using it, but then every now and then you wince because you used a word and so our body like tenses up, and so somehow letting it flow, figuring out how to let the language flow, is really cool. And to that, like I like to do workshops where we sort of ignore the shame for a moment. We like suspend disbelief or something where we so I did like a song translation workshop where we're translating pop songs like Madonna and whatever to English, to Armenian, and then Armenian songs to English. And just like a sentence here, a word here, a phrase here, and it flows. It's really nice. A favorite of mine was Coldplay. We translated as Bar Khar, and that was really fun. So it's true. And then there is the opposite of that shame, where when someone does use their Armenian confidently or is like, oh yeah, I got this, they ground themselves and seem so much bigger and taller, and pride, I guess, like beams out. And that doesn't happen with English. That because English is just every day, we're consuming English on our phones all the time. There isn't really this like, it's just the doo-doo drone in the background. That's the English. And then we get this like melody with Armenian, and it's nice. So
Yeah, I was thinking more like it's difficult to discuss an experience if the words for it don't exist, right?
mhm. Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, there's a million reasons why Armenian may or may not be accessible to someone, but I think
Yeah.
that what adds to it, that's like one drop in the bucket of how people can't be themselves.
Right. And so to that end, Mia and Levon Kafafian, who lives in Detroit, Armenian futurist, weaver, queer extraordinaire, we did an Armenian erotic glossary a few years ago where we took a lot of words, we put them in different categories, and then we wanted them to be like non-clinical, like classroom words because they're erotic and bodily and whatever. And so we either came up with words, we either took words that already exist or phrases, or we left some blank so that other people could figure out some words for themselves. But yeah, the body, it's nice to go into because it's something reliable, sort of like the sun and the moon and the stars. It's like, it's there. So it's like, feel
Where
it,
can
use it.
people find this glossary?
We printed it through Armenian Creatives, this a group of Armenian creatives. We've published a few volumes. This one's in the second volume. It's in this volume. And yeah, it's a pullout in this volume, but I also have the PDF on my website. Whoever wants, I could send it to them.
What's your
And
website?
it's hrayrvaraz.com. So hrayrvaraz.com, and I have a bunch of pages there, a bunch of hidden pages on my website. So every time I do a workshop, I have a page for it. So anytime anyone wants that page, it's there.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so funny because I was writing, like, as I was going through the questions and the topics that I wanted to talk to you about, I wrote in the margin, queer Armenian dictionary question mark. And I had no idea that you actually had an erotic glossary. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was going to ask you for if you didn't already have it. But look at you, you were so prepared.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and this is thanks to Levon. And yeah, I'm like, maybe I should read like something from it, but like, as in like, so Amot Che. So here, this is great because it has Amot Che in it. It is a snapshot of an evolving collaborative endeavor meant to establish shared understanding and playful use of the Armenian language in a creative, naughty, and generative way. Amotutun Chigahos. So there's no shame here. Our sessions have prioritized intuitive decision-making, experimental word creation, and recontextualization over exacting archival research and prescriptive definitions. Yeah. So
Hey, I'm going to order a copy.
yeah, it's good. And then there's other writings and other like a beautiful. It's Maher, Katie, and Caroline are the three editors who are incredible, and we have a few volumes, and we'll have future ones too. So yeah,
It's really important work, honestly, because that is part of the reason. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but being able to talk about something and being able to mention it with them. I was thinking like talking about it with like grandparents. There is an accessibility that has been missing from our language. So
yes.
I appreciate you filling that gap
So
and bridging that.
thank you.
Yeah.
There is a big hurdle though, where so this is I mostly exist in the queer Armenian sphere bubble, what you want to call it, and then sometimes I do get out and I have family and friends and straight people that I interact with, non-queers, and I realize that non-queer people, which I call andador, by the way. So it's like, so I'm centering the queers and then everyone else, like the non-queers are like andador.
I get it.
So they apparently don't really talk about sex. They like not only like I don't know how much sex they're having. Like it doesn't matter. It seems it's like especially once you're married, the doors close. Of like I'm like, what if you have an issue? What if there's like you don't you want to get better at like
That goes back to a whole issue of sexual repression within the culture.
yes.
Sexuality of all kinds is taboo to speak about.
And and I
Remember, yeah,
and
go
that's
ahead.
connected. I feel like that's connected with the homophobia and transphobia that exists, and misogyny that exists within the Armenian community, where you're like, oh, this is the Armenian box that we have to stay in, and in that box, we have this like sexless reality, and so it's like,
Sex is for procreation, right? Have as many babies as you can to repopulate the
yeah.
Armenian race.
And for me, sex is more like it energizes my writing, and my writing energizes my sex, and so it's like there's like they feed each other. Yeah.
Growing up, did you see any representations of queer Armenians at all?
I didn't, but there were people in my life who were clearly gay or queer who my parents and everyone around me didn't say anything about, didn't even, I mean, kept making homophobic jokes and whatever. And just like there was racism and homophobia and all the phobia, all the, yeah, negative things. There were people who now I see, and it would have been so amazing to know that that was a possibility. So like growing up, I didn't know that being gay was a possibility. It was ingrained in me that everyone goes through this phase of you have to try things. And so I having, yeah, I had a girlfriend that like, and so it's like, I tried everything and no, by college, by the time I started college, I'm like, well, this is here to stay and I've tried everything. So we're just gonna try this now. We're going to try to now be gay. So, and that was, yeah, that clicked. Yeah. The first memory that I have is like, I was going to say Googling, but I don't know if Googling was around. Online, I found the AGBU article from the 90s about some gay Armenians. It was from like the mid to late 90s, or maybe an AIM. It was either AIM or AGBU, or it was like, it was one of the hits. And then another hit was like, I don't know if maybe Gallus or Q High from New York or San Francisco. There's a few things that came up, but there wasn't much.
I mean, this is a little bit of a loaded question, but growing up, what kind of cultural messages about masculinity do you remember receiving growing up with? What does it mean to be a man in Armenian culture?
Being involved in community was very, very important. So all the male figures in my family, like my dad, my dad's brother, my dad's dad, my mom's cousins, all were part of some Armenian organization, either the Scouts or Homeland Men or ARF or AYF or ANC or like all, yeah, like you choose. It's like you have this like sea of organizations, and you're gonna choose from these, and that's what I grew up with. And so I also grew up with like the assumption that after high school you go to college. It's like that's what happens. It's not like, and so within that box, I'm like, okay, so I guess I'll go to college and do this because I'm enjoying this, or I'll continue being in this Armenian organization. I was always on guard. I was I always tried to present the expected slash even hide in the scenes, like behind the scenes. And so it's like I didn't want any attention on me. So I didn't even consider like experimenting with growing my hair, like fingernails. Like I had the privilege of having a fairly like mask like presentation and body hair and voice, and there, even though I don't know, you look at I look at photos and I'm like, that was a gay kid, like, so I don't know, and everyone liked me, and everyone liked me slash I was connected with so many people in the Armenian community that someone knew me or someone knew some member of my family, and they're like, oh yeah, like, so everyone was nice in a way. So I had protection, which was huge, which most queer Armenians don't have. So I had that huge level of privilege.
So tell me a little bit about the decision you made to live authentically once you realized that,
Yeah.
no, I think I'm gay.
Yeah.
How did you make that decision then to come out or to be yourself?
Yeah. Um, I I started chatting with people online in high school from around the US who were in similar situations where they're all alone. They thought they were the only person, and they connected with people through different chat rooms or posts or like message boards. And also my parents finding that my internet history and like seeing like, yeah,
Why
looking
did your
at.
parents look at your internet history? That's like not a normal thing to check unless you have some suspicion.
Right, and they did. They had
Okay.
suspicion because like in middle school they caught me looking at like underwear sites, and they took me to a therapist,
Okay.
an Armenian therapist, and she gave the message of like, yeah, this is like you're exploring and experimenting, and everyone goes through this. Everyone has this attraction to many people, and then you like figure it out and you become an adult. So that's why after that, and then after I had a girlfriend, my parents were like, oh, okay. Okay. No, okay.
He's
We're
fine.
good. He's fine. And then I'm like, I'm not fine. I'm depressed. And I, I don't want to say suicidal, but I was like driving in LA, you like, I don't know. I just like my mind goes places, and then, but I didn't do anything. I didn't act on anything. I didn't like take any steps, but definitely in the like, yeah, no one's going to accept me no matter how many good things I do.
That's very real. Like
Yeah.
you've tried to be this perfect Armenian your whole life, partly because it's in your heart and connected and it's who you are, but also partly as a shield to protect yourself from any
Hmm.
scrutiny.
Yeah, exactly.
And then to realize that might not protect you.
Right. Yeah. That all of that, like just being gay will be heavier than anything I do. And so I sort of let that go starting like in college. I started meeting other gay people and then started meeting some gay Armenians. I went to Gallus like sophomore year of college, and the president at the time was someone who had gone to my high school 10 years before me, and when he saw me he's like, don't panic, like we know like family connections and whatever, but he's like, you're safe and whatever. And I felt safe, and it was like logical, and I was ready for the next phase of like figuring out gay things and then eventually queer things and then self-actualizing much later. So that's the thing. I feel like I self-actualized like 2018, 2019 versus my straight counterparts who did it in high school or college or never at all. And so I don't know.
Right.
So everyone's in their own, yeah, box on world, and yeah.
So It sounds like being invisible in terms of your sexuality really took a toll on your mental health, not being
Yeah,
able to be yourself. How
right.
did you get past that? How did you go from that shame and that secrecy to acceptance and feeling proud?
Well, being confident in who I was, it being like having tried years of non-queer interactions and relationship, like I'm like, no, this is actually who I am. I am actually attracted to guys from birth, and like I'm gay. So, and I didn't get to like there was many people that experimented with weed and alcohol in high school, and I never did that because I was careful, because I was like, I don't want to raise any flags.
Yeah. So your parents were already suspicious. They'd already taken you to therapy. They were like, wanting to make sure that you were on the straight and narrow, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
How are they now? Or how were they when you first came?
Right. So that was 20 years ago. And so they were a mess when I came out. They had the experience of two of their high school classmates dying of AIDS. And their class was like a class of 20 people or something. And so it was very much like, like you
Death
might die.
sentence.
Yeah, death sentence sort of. And then what will we tell people? Which most gay Armenians have this experience of, like, the parents are like, well, what are we going to tell our cousins or neighbors or families or communities, or like, what do I say when someone asks? And I'm like, say whatever you want. Like, I mean, like, it's yours. And so it was very hidden, and they're like one was more accepting than the other in a way, but then yeah, it's all the same because it's such a different world. It's such outside, and because my parents and everyone in the Armenian community is just surrounded by homophobia and constant anti-gay jokes. And so you're always making fun of someone's lisp or someone's like mannerisms. And so it's like,
Yeah.
it's impossible.
Feminization. You're always making fun of how
Feminization.
someone's a girl,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Especially when it's a bunch of guys. It's like, it's almost like they got hazed and so they're hazing. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I, yeah.
Where are they
And so,
today? Like,
so
where are your
te-
parents? Yeah.
they're amazing right now. So what happened 10 years ago was I started PrEP, which is a daily pill to prevent HIV. I call it the birth control pill for HIV. And so once I told them that, it seemed like something melted away, and they're like, okay, we're okay with the gay thing. And so that was nice. And so we had more of a relationship since then. And yeah, they live in LA. I get to go see them. I'm very lucky that they're still around. They're very helpful, very supportive. And of course, now that I'm doing like Armenian poetry things, like that is obviously a plus and a nice thing. And even though I'm doing it my queer way, so there's some Armenians who don't like what I'm doing, because no matter what you do, someone's not going to like it, and that's fine. So, but they're great. Yeah, I even had a long-term boyfriend, like 8 years ago now, who I introduced to them, and I took to a wedding, and that was cool. Yeah.
Nice. It sounds like they
Yeah.
were really worried about your health and your well-being,
Yeah.
which, is very
Yes.
understandable as a parent that parents love and want to protect their children,
Yeah. No,
generally speaking.
they're really incredible now, to the point of like they came to the last like queer in Glendale, so that was really nice. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So when we had talked a little bit the other day, you mentioned that, or you were talking about this concept that being queer and Armenian actually gave you permission in a way to break the binary of either or.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about how that came to be.
Yeah. This was like early college, where when I was starting to come out, and I had already come out to myself, I've already like been like, okay, I'm gay, and this is it. Like, or I like guys, and like this, it's yeah. And so once I realized that, well, no matter what I do, no matter who I bring home or what boyfriend I have, it's gonna be outside of the expected female
Norm.
male norm, the Armenian box. And so once I'm out of that Armenian box, it's almost like, well, the rest of the universe exists outside of this box. And so there's all these combinations, there's all these people, there's all these experiences, there's all these ways of spending your next 5 minutes that I wouldn't allow myself because I was within that box. And within that box, I was able to do a lot, but it's in that confined and within that. Yeah. And so once I'm not in that box, it's like you have all these other possibilities. And it's not just this or that. You have this thing in the middle, you have this thing on the edge, you have a flavoring of this thing. And it's sort of like everyone's language is different. It's not like you speak English or you don't speak English. It's not like once I use 5% of words of Armenian, I'm not speaking English anymore. I have a different English, you have a different English, everyone has a different English. So there are like 6 billion English languages in the world or whatever. There aren't that many English speakers, but anyways, but like Armenian is the same. Armenian language is the same and just the experiences are the same. And so I'm able to do there isn't a restriction almost. It's like I'm Armenian. That doesn't mean I can't do this anymore. Like I can.
Like you
I
popped out
don't.
of the box and you were still Armenian.
I'm still Armenian. Yes. Yes. I popped out of the I'm still Armenian, but now I get to interact with people that I wouldn't have allowed myself to interact with if I wasn't gay. It's like because I'm gay, I could just stick to like Armenian gays, but that's like only a handful of people and we're all so different. And so I have to interact with non-Armenians. Not only interact, I need to have relationships. I need to spend time, sleep with, be alone with, like cook with, listen to the experiences of someone who grew up in Ukiah, California, and just appreciate how much privilege and comfort I had in my Armenian bubble and be able to come back and forth in and out of that bubble. I'm able to go into that box and bubble and I'm still doing that. And so what I do is it's not like I make myself small or like I restrict myself from saying certain things. When I go into certain Armenian boxes or contexts now, I go in more quiet. Like if I don't want people to put up boundaries and walls, I have to only give them 1% of my energy. And that 1% is sufficient to interact with them. If I give them 50%, then they explode. They're like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think this ties into, so I had told you that I was going to ask about
yeah,
how Armenian culture can be more open, more accommodating
yeah.
to the LGBTQ plus members. And you had said maybe there's room for both sides to accommodate a little bit. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're getting into. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. From my experiences, I've felt that whenever, like, I'm most comfortable, most flowy within queer Armenian circles that are grounded, that celebrate life, that celebrate each other, and we expand each other. Like queers get together to expand each other, and then non-queers get together to check each other's boxes. And it's like, why are we even trying to check each other's boxes? Like, making sure that we have the same exact linens and wallpaper and whatever. And it's like, no. Anyways, so when I'm in a non-queer space, I restrict myself and only give a small percentage of my energy and make sure that I'm not raising people's walls up. Even though people will raise walls up no matter what in my presence or in other queers presence, I get more out of a conversation or more people listen to me or there's more forward motion together if I'm not confrontational or I'm not doing a good job of verbalizing this.
Well,
Yeah,
you're not, I want to talk, you're not telling people to shrink or hide themselves,
right.
right?
Right. I'm telling people to be an iceberg. Like
Uh-huh.
have this huge mass under some water or like in like somewhere that is you and that you have access to and you could bring out whenever you want. You can have your glitter bomb ready to go or like all of you ready to go. But if you want to be invited or be in a room that has certain expectation, like everyone in that box has a certain expectation, like going to church, there's like a certain level of agreed standing up, sitting down,
Decorum. Yeah.
talking, decorum. And so you could totally go in there and protest something randomly and yell, and that will get you that 5 seconds, and then it's done. And then you're out of the room, or everyone has their walls up and you're done. But if you sit there and you still have that like protest in mind, but you sit there, you spend time with people, you have the coffee afterwards, you have a conversation, and in the conversation, you weave in the protest. Like you're just like they're weaving in their like children and their worries and politics. And so it's like when they weave it in, I weave it in, and when they become uncomfortable, it's like it's good because they've realized that they're sharing stuff, and so it's like then I'm sharing stuff, and this is who I am. And so you saw that I am in this decorum sort of way. I'm human like you, and it is a lot of effort, and not I don't have that energy all the time to like make myself small. Like
So that's a pragmatic approach, right? For queer Armenians to be able to, it's a like get to know me first approach, and that's fine. I'm sure people will have different opinions on whether or not that's appropriate or for them. But what can the community do to make themselves a safer space for queer Armenians, that we don't have to say, I don't have the energy to be to be among a bunch of straight Armenians today because
well,
it takes too much of my defenses.
yeah. And what I would say to that is in the moment, whenever anyone says any sentence to me, I take that sentence as they are reporting on their box. Like they exist in a box and they're telling me what that box is all about. What are the check boxes in that box? I'm like, great, whatever. Like, if you're telling me that like there's only a gender binary and it's only guys and girls, you're telling me this, and even though I told you I'm non-binary, if that was me or whatever, them telling me that only two genders exist isn't them telling me that only two genders exist everywhere. They're telling me just for themselves, they believe that their box has these two gender things. And so I view it as like they're looking for just a mirror to talk to, or like a bouncing off thing. And so I don't take it personally. I'm like, you see me as this thing that you want to like reflect you want to verbalize your current state of mentality of this box that you're in. And that's fine. But and I don't live in that box, and I'm queer, and I'm like, I don't know if that made it clear. Let's see.
Still sounds like you doing the work of processing, if I'm honest. It's not about how the community needs to open up and accept widening definitions of who gets to be in the club.
So it's like, because I think I view it as we restrict ourselves from not being in the club. Like the restriction is not from them. The restriction is our discomfort, annoyance, trauma of being in those spaces and having people tell us that don't be around my kids. Like that is traumatic and like constantly harmful. I think like, yeah, I don't know. Joy is the way that I like try to break through.
Do they have a responsibility, or do you think it's on us to not ingratiate ourselves, but find a language?
What do you mean find the language?
Like it's on queer Armenians to, I don't know how to say it because everything I'm thinking of doesn't feel right. Like I don't want to say like make ourselves acceptable or make ourselves, but like
Right. It's the perception. It's like the thinking like we don't belong. It's like we do belong because we are Armenian. It's like it's like many Armenians who feel not Armenian enough because they're like one of their parents is Armenian, and it's like it's not that you're half Armenian, it's you're 100% Armenian and 100% Filipino. Like you have 200%. Like amazing. Like it's someone saying that you're half Armenian means like when I hear that, I hear I'm 200%. Like they're giving me a compliment. So I guess whatever they say, I just do the reciprocal. I don't like, I do the
you interpret it your own way.
exactly. I reframe what they're saying.
Okay.
But that reframe takes energy. And so like, I don't always have the energy to do that. But the more I do it, and the more I do it with people, or the more people see me do it, they get empowered to do it themselves or see that it's possible. And so it's not like we're all alone. It does feel like we're all alone, but thanks to like your podcast here, where like so many great queer Armenian thought leaders and community members have come together. And in general, like galas and like spaces that there are spaces where we get to see each other do things in our own spheres, in our own. So I do it in my language sphere. People do it in the urban planning sphere. It's beautiful. And so seeing how easy it is, and we're powerful. We have because we've had to constantly be on guard. We've had to like listen to every single footstep and every single thing. It's like we have a sensitivity that we get to utilize. Like it's powerful. It's like the X-Men or whatever. Like
Yeah,
so.
that is a superpower.
Yeah.
Hypervigilance.
Yeah.
Which comes from trauma, generally
Yeah.
speaking.
Oh yeah. And it's not just and the thing is like we have the shared Armenian trauma, like that all Armenians have, and that got again activated through the Artsakh attacks and ethnic cleansing and so that's what drove me to like Twitter and have these like 2 books that I have of like Western Armenian and English. And that's why Tallinn Voskuni has like her books, like she started because again, the Artsakh war like really activated us. And so for queer Armenians, there's like that level. And then we have this queer level. And then women have like the misogyny level they have to go through. And then trans Armenians have the like trans erasure that's like, it's a lot. So
Yeah, they really have to be superhumans.
yes.
They really do. Do you find that writing is a way that helps you process your emotions and your
Absolutely.
thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And sometimes I just do like stream of consciousness and like write some things. And sometimes I have an idea and I'm like, oh, what a brilliant idea. But then I open up a journal from 10 years ago and it's the same idea. So it's like,
Fine,
we're the
brilliant
same.
choice.
It's like like we're the same person. Like even though I feel like I'm changing and have different versions of myself, I am still like my dad's son, my brother's brother. Like I'm still like these people that like I'm still like white in this like ultra racist like society. And so yeah, very lucky.
What gives you hope for the Armenian LGBTQ plus community? What do you see?
It's the infinite possibility that gives me hope. So there's the box and then there's everything outside of the box. And so it's like the queer possibility is infinite. So if all queer Armenians, or some queer Armenians even, like dive deeper and deeper and deeper into their possibilities, we get this continuation. We get what we've had for centuries. We've had Armenians living for centuries and continuing these traditions. And a lot of it, I want to say, is thanks to queer Armenians, because queer Armenians are able to write poetry and not care about kids. And like there's certain things that I am actively not worried about day to day. I don't own a house, a car, a dog. Like I don't have things that I need to do or have to have a certain type of job to be able to like continue. And so I rely on a lot of community and people who believe in what I'm doing. And that keeps growing because I keep doing what I'm doing and more people get excited. And it's as simple as telling someone to like download the Armenian keyboard. It's like they know the Armenian letters, and so they could eventually learn the Armenian keyboard. And I'm like, just download it. And so some people download it, and then they text me in Armenian, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah. And so and the playfulness. So the playfulness goes back to childhood in a way that like I'm playing with language. That playfulness, a lot of non-queers have forgotten that playfulness or don't know how to be playful. And so allowing them to be playful in some little aspect of their Armenian culture, either through dance, like going to an Armenian rave, or like doing this Armenian poetry, or like anything, is powerful. It's like it gets you to be, yeah, playful and joyful. And that is so much more expansive than hate and exclusion and like cleanliness and being like, we need to be pure, and we have to make sure that our walls are all these like fortresses. And it's like we've survived for centuries and millennia, and so it's like, and I strongly believe that like the Armenian language isn't dying, Armenian people aren't dying, we're not gonna be wiped off the face of the earth. Now we're everywhere, so it's like it's impossible actually to
Yeah.
so it's pretty cool.
I mean, in a way, that's a superpower to be in a diaspora. It's a different
Yeah.
kind of strength, right?
Yeah, we all have these intersectional experiences now, like Armenian Argentinian, Armenian Australian, Armenian American. And so it's like, and there's cultural like treasures in each of those different cultures. And so I get to share American treasures through an Armenian lens and help a French Armenian realize that they don't actually need to be doing certain things that they're doing with Armenianness, and vice versa. So it's really cool as long as we keep on interacting with each other and communicating. But yeah, we're doing. I feel powerful, and I feel like the ancestors are happy. So yeah.
If you could give me a word in Armenian or not to describe where you are in your life right now, please take your time because I did not prep you for this.
Yeah.
What would that word be?
Unfortunately, it would be Jahij. Jahij is swamp. Swamp is currently where I am. So yeah, Jahij, just Jahij. I don't know. Sounds nice. But I'm not doing well in terms of like taking care of myself, or like I feel bogged down from I've been going to like previous ways of doing certain things where I don't need to do those things anymore. I have less destructive ways of doing things, and tools and people around in my life that I could tap into and keep connections with. But it's hard for me to reach out. It's hard for me to communicate that. And it just seems like everyone just assumes I'm somewhere else or I'm doing something else. But I am always bouncing around LA, New York, and SF these days, so it doesn't really help. It's so much better to just be in one physical space and be able to like keep on going to weekly meetups and meetings. And whenever I'm in LA, I always go to the LA Eagle, which is in Silver Lake. And I love the outside patio there. I watch the stars, and then I tell people to meet me there if they want to meet me there. I like places that are reliably like a community center. So I feel like we need physical community centers, preferably that aren't bars.
Thank you for your vulnerability. That was a
Thanks.
very deep
Yeah.
response, very deep answer.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to being able to see you on the 13th at our
Yes.
Amot Che Pod. So
Me
very,
too. Me
very
too.
excited about that. It's right around the corner.
Yeah. Thanks for putting that together with Gallus.
Ah, my pleasure.
Yeah. It's very exciting.
So what, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would you say?
I mean, I would somehow have to like communicate to him to like not be self-conscious about every single thing that I did, like especially Armenian language wise. Like I went to an Armenian K through 12 in LA, and we had Armenian class every day. One day it was like spelling, one day it was reading, one day it was poetry, one day it was literature. And for each one, I struggled because it wasn't perfect, or it was like it wasn't like math, where math has an answer and that's the answer. And so I was able to do math, but I wasn't able to do language like I did math. And so if I did approach language differently, I would have been I would have been writing then. I would have been writing poetry. I would have whatever. Like I would tell the younger self to explore writing poetry in Armenian, like because it's so fun. It is fun, and like figuring out how it's fun. And I'm in an Armenian school. It's like an amazing opportunity to like be around Armenians and Armenian teachers. It's like I wish I had that now. So yeah.
I wanted to put the question to you now. Who is a queer Armenian person that we should all get to know? Because you were the answer for so many people. Now I want to ask you, who's someone we should all get to know and why?
My answer would be one of the like trans Armenians in my life. I feel like the trans voice is very important right now. We need to hear we need to hear and really really push for and be advocates for the trans community. So trans men, trans women. I would say who is they just retired from teaching English as a second language at the community college here, and they've lived in SF for 20, 30 years, grew up Bolsa High,
What's
but
Armin's
has
last name? Or where can we find Armin?
something I should know. It's Armin and the cat on
Oh, okay.
Instagram.
Okay.
Do you know who this is?
I feel like I follow their account through Armenian enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like Armin would be a really cool person to get to know.
All right.
Yeah. But my answer would be Vera, but yeah, yeah.
We already know him. No, they're
Yeah,
amazing.
they are. Yeah. Alright,
Is there
so
anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you?
no, just like a comment, I guess. I have a hope that like the Armenian schools now, the private Armenian schools in LA now, that are all increasing in like student body size, partly because of the Artsakh like attacks and the newly discovered Armenianness energy, and partly because of homophobia and transphobia from public schools that are moving to private schools. I hope that those schools, like I personally get myself involved in somehow, either with the teachers or the parents, but there needs to be more communication, and there is a lot of potential for there to be progress really fast. It just will take energy from queer people, and I feel like we have that. It has to be somehow with the straight allies that are involved in those schools. Anyways, yeah.
I mean, that's certainly part of the answer of what the Armenian community could do to be a more welcoming space for queers is to, have us there teaching the arts,
Yeah.
integrating and interacting with the kids
Yeah. Yeah.
and teaching them a part of their culture.
Yeah, even if it's just like reading Armenian to them or something, like Armenian story hour in Armenian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe not hiding the fact that certain artists that we listen to and read
Yeah.
may have had a queer past,
Right. Yeah, that would have helped
queer
me a lot.
existence, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you go by the statistics, 1 in 10, which a lot of us believe is higher than that,
Yeah.
but 1/10 at least of those kids are going to be queer.
Yeah.
And if the community has a vested interest in keeping people connected to the Armenian community,
Right.
then I think it behooves them to make space and extend a hand. And at least let's be honest about all of our history,
Yeah.
not just our Christian history, not just the way we want to see things, but how
Yeah.
things really are.
It doesn't negate like being gay or queer, it doesn't negate being Armenian or being able to do Armenian things or being Armenian anything. So yeah.
I happen to think that the Armenian community has a responsibility
Yeah.
to actively come out and support us and let us know that we're welcome, because that's a huge change, because we know that we're not welcome in the
Yeah.
majority of spaces.
The issue, I think, is the publicness of it. The public, like people admitting that privately, they might be like, yes, I'm pro-queer Armenian, but publicly they say the opposite because they see what the other wants to see and hear, and there's like this reciprocal of like whatever I'm saying. And so because we don't have this like Armenian community central location, like hub, and we're such dispersed, and also the immigrant mentality. Sorry, I this came to my mind where it's like whenever you've immigrated into the US, that's sort of like what is crystallized as your like conservativeness of Armenian. And I feel like the most progressive Armenians are in Armenia. It's like you have, even though it's like very homophobic and outwardly anti-gay, the society in general has moved through a space where there are queers expressing themselves much freely than it's going to be possible in LA.
Yeah. I mean, I looked for, not that this is like the answer to everything, but I looked for Armenian drag queens in LA and could not find a single one. We
Yeah.
had to go to San Francisco and, well, for Drag King, and then to Canada. She's
Yeah.
amazing. But how is it that we don't have an Armenian drag queen who is like booked every weekend in Los Angeles? We
Yep.
need this. How do we
Right.
not have this?
Yeah. Not only one, but like 10.
Any.
Yeah.
So we should have an embarrassment of drag queens to pick from.
That's such a good group word. An embarrassment of drag queen. Yes.
All right, that's my linguistic contribution. I'm sure we could talk forever about these topics.
Uh,
You heard it here. You heard it first. An embarrassment of drag.
uh,
How do you say drag in Armenian?
a good question. I say takor. I say takor. Tak is crown.
Yeah.
And or is like a person that does that thing.
Person who
And
wears
so,
the crown.
yeah. So takor is either drag king, drag queen, just general. And so that's the word I use. Of course, they would, like in Armenian, it would be drag. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can like takuhi, like takavor, I don't know, like queen, king.
Yeah.
I need something, but I use taco, and that's what I use. But no one else uses it. So
Yeah.
there's yet, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so much for coming on the show and
This was
talking to
so
us
fun.
tonight.
Thank you.
I love all the different branches of the conversation.
Yeah, we built a nice tree. Yeah, it was
Yes,
good.
we built a nice tree. Thank you so much. And
Thank you,
if you'd
Laura.
like if you'd like more information about where to contact Hadide or any culturally sensitive Armenian mental health resources, please visit amotche.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Amot Che. If this episode resonated with you, please visit amotche.com for resources, support, and ways to get involved. Share this episode to help break the stigma and build community. Take care of yourself and each other.